Hey, good afternoon, man. I appreciate you giving us some time. What we want to do is we want to get out in the community and talk to people about the relationship between police and the community and things that we can do better on both sides. If you could just give us a few minutes of your time. Okay. I just have a few questions for you. How long have you been a citizen of Columbus?
Since 1972, my birth.
Wow. Wow. What side of town?
Here in Linden. I was actually born here at 1351 East 26.
Wow. It's great. It's great. Um, How would you rate the police in your neighborhood from a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being the highest.
Give me anywhere from 5 to 7. And I'm going to say that because all police ain't bad police, so you really can't just put the regular scale on the overall overview of the police and what they're doing. You pretty much just have to simulate the aspects and the characters of what they're doing in the community. So 5 or 6, 7 saying that we all have room to do better. So yeah, somewhere in that area.
You ever been a victim of a crime? It don't have to be a physical crime. It could be a house. It could be somebody stole your bike.
It's been a couple of incidents to where I've been tied into, and thank God that I wasn't involved in a situation to where I could have been locked up or tied up into a situation. It's been, even I got a couple of partners who even seen me, where I had restraints on me to where I was chased down and didn't even know nothing about it. So there's a couple of incidents here and there to where I can share. But yeah, to answer your question to the fullest, yes.
So when you did you call the police?
The police was called and they came to the scene or whatever. And due to the nature of the relationships that I have with the police, we was able to come to a mutual understanding or agreement and actually get to some type of resolution to whatever the situation or the crisis is.
Outstanding. Thanks. Have you ever been stopped by the police, arrested, and what was your experience?
There's been a couple of times I've been pulled over by the police, through, tinted windows, covered up, dark covered up, license plates. But younger, being, I can say, profiled or characteristically profiled, younger, it was an incident where, back then when they said if 4 in a group or more, or, you spotted them, they try to judge you by that, to where I was in a situation to where I could have went to jail, but my godfather, Bill Moss, was one of the people who helped me, raise me to who I am today, was there to help me, get out of that situation.
Good. Um, so you had a mentor in your life, and was that somebody from the community? Was that an officer?
As a guy growing up in a community and demographically what we call a poor community, I didn't have that father figure, or I had a father figure, I had a biological father, but he wasn't in my life. So I had people that stepped in as a father figure who became mentors, who encouraged me to not stay stuck in the situation or the crisis that I was in. Being a child and watching your father walk out on you can send you to different mental state of minds to where your mindset can go one way or the other. And mentors, like I had community mentors such as Lonnie Poindexter, George Walker,
Yes,
Jr.,
sir.
Mr. Lumpkin, Clarence Lumpkin. Them guys who came around through the community and watched us grow up, and not just watched us, but made sure that we participated and that we was engaged in things in the community to help further the community.
What high school did you go to?
I went to Whetstone.
Um, Thinking back then and now, do you believe that police should be removed from the schools?
Nah, and I say that into 2 points because we hear like both sides, like the police, some police, the characteristic or the character of the police may not be fit for the school or may not be fit for the community. But just because they're not fit or just because they don't tie into the system don't mean that they're not needed. There might be a situation in the school to where a principal, the resource officer, or somebody else as an official of the school can't tend to that matter that the police, has been trained to do. A lot of us don't have that necessarily training that the police does, as far as conflict, interviewing conflicts and things of that nature. But we can be trained to do different things. But being that you guys already have the nature, you know how to resolve them issues. We can't never dismiss you from the premises because some things that go to another tier that we can't handle and that you guys are trained to do.
And with all these active shooters in schools that we've seen, from Columbine to California, um, you know, the response, you take a citizen to respond to those shots fired versus a police officer, who would you choose?
I have to choose a police officer because they had the technical training to handle them type of shootings. You know, we may know how to dodge and dodge, dodge and duck, but they had that particular training to where they know how to, escalate, de-escalate the situation, not escalate, but de-escalate the situation to where they train to where if they do have to fire back, they know the proper, strategy to how to shoot back, the target that they're shooting at and whatever may be the nature. If it's left up to us, we don't have that type of training, or we never been trained to do what you guys provide, in the community. So that's one of the things that we can't take away is that next level of training if we go into a heavier crisis.
Thank you. What are the problems in your area that you would like addressed? That can be anything.
I think right now what we're facing right now in our community is just overall community egos. And when I say community egos and pride, we all come into a community and we all have a mission, we all have an agenda. And what that mission agenda is just a piece of a puzzle that can actually be a part of a solution to the community. But what we allow ourselves to do is we allow ourselves to be affiliated with the circles, just taking care of them circles or walls that we're engaged with. When we have crises or problems or pains in the community, that we can use them resources that they're engaged with or that they're affiliated with to come out and ease some of these situations down. So when you talk about like how can the community come to more together, how can we be more unified, we all are here for a reason. You have a different character in you, I have a different character in me, the guy that's filming has a different character in him. But everybody else in the community has a different character as well, to where we all have characteristics that can tie into the individuals that may need that help, that may need that resource, or may even need that push or mentorship to saying, hey, I got you. Go ahead and push them forward in life. So that's what it comes to where we all just need to learn how to be more unified and come together as a whole, putting our egos to the side, putting our prides in our pockets, and just come together as a whole and understanding that the only way we can come to any type of solution is if we come together and collaborate together as one.
Sure. Thank you. That's real enlightening. What programs would you like to see implemented by your police department?
I like to see the police department have, and that's kind of crazy you said that because 4 summers ago, I made an announcement over at Douglas Recreation Center, which is just a couple of blocks over, to where me and the mayor had sat down along with his officials, city officials, and we came up with a plan to where the police and the community, they wouldn't come into cars, into their vehicles. They'd come into bikes, riding their bikes. And people from the community, such as, the community leaders, they would be engaged with the police to where we would be engaged with the community to where they'd be saying, hey, the community ain't, the police ain't bad after all. They here for us. This is what they're doing. They want to actually, be engaged with you. So if we learn how to find some type of plan or program like we was trying to 4 summers ago, to where we can get the police, to come out, come take their hats off, because that's the image that when we grew up in a culture like this, when we see the colors of that white vehicle with the stripes, the blue and the red stripes on it, we get to a certain mindset to where we freeze. We might get stuck, and then some of us might even get scared. It's like, oh, here they come. What are they going to do next? But if they see us being engaged with you guys, as community leaders being engaged, to where we engage with them, like the certain events that we have, to where y'all coming out, not even in your uniform, just coming out just how you are, saying, hey, I'm a police officer, rather down your polo shirts, whatever it is. It's just showing that I'm more than who I am behind that badge. I'm more than who I am behind that vehicle, behind them lights, behind them handcuffs. This is who I am personally. Because at the end of the day, when I clock out as a police officer, I still got to go home and maintain my family, just like you guys have to maintain your family. So when we learn how to collaborate our mindsets together and understand that we are all in one accord, then that creates a mental mental block that releases from us to where they say, okay, they're not bad after all. To where even when you are engaged with us, and some police officers might even say, hey, black community, this culture, they just they taint it or whatever. To when they actually engage with us, we see the reasons why we going through this. We see the reasons why we having so much turmoil. But then when we find out the reasons, let's come together and find out the resolutions behind it, and then come together as a whole, not just one person on a platform by themselves, but come together as a whole. Those puzzle pieces that I mentioned at the beginning, we come together and create that one puzzle and show the unity that we unify, and it's not just the police, it's not just the community, but it's everybody all together.
Would you say that's what police can do better? Or is there something else you believe police can do better in your neighborhood?
I say overall in general, because it's just not my neighborhood. Demographically, when you look at the whole situation in the city of Columbus, period, if we just talking about the city of Columbus, if they're not doing it here in South Linden or in the Linden area, they're going to do it over here onto the east side. If they don't do it over here on the east side, they're going to do it over to the south side. On the south side, they're going to do it over to the west side. It's just all about the perimeters of where they can do it at. And it just goes back to the mindset that I said that they create. When you don't give them nothing to do, that they find something reckless to do, because that's the crowd that they're in. It's a reckless crowd.
In one word, what would be the biggest problem in your city, neighborhood, or society?
Togetherness. And I put that in all cases. Togetherness. We have to learn how to put aside how we was raised. And when I say how we was raised, yes, some of us was raised to not like these things. Some of us was raised not to go and interfere with these things. But as we grew up, we started developing into different things, different situations that's evolved around us. We have to learn how to adjust how we was raised. We have to learn how to adapt into what we're about to entertain into or being engaged into. We might have been raised to, we ain't supposed to like this culture. We may not like that culture. But at the end of the day, before we go to sleep, we all have to go into our thoughts and think about how can we make our surroundings, our environment better. The only way you can actually do that is put aside how you was raised and brought up and adapt to the things that we're going through, the crisis that we're going through. How can I contribute to solving this? How can I help this person, with the resources for this? When we become unified and we put together those puzzle pieces that I mentioned during the course of this conversation, then that's when you find out we all are together. And then that's when you find out that everything will make a difference. We will get a necessary attention to the youth who are out here shooting each other in the park. We will get a necessary attention to the community, getting them resources so they don't have to steal from the stores, worrying about how they're going to get their next meal, how they're going to get their next supplies to wash their clothes or something. We have the necessary resources to where we can actually bring the togetherness of other resources that's around us in the community. When you go up and down the community, you have a whole lot of resources. They all come up to do the footwork to show the community that they're here. So we got to bring that togetherness.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you for being candid and giving us your time. Before we finish up, is there anything else you'd like to say? Even if it's just inspiration, even if it's just to bring people together, whatever's on your mind. Go ahead.
Just closing out this in general, I'm just happy that you had me up here just to talk about the things and the pains and the problems in the community. And as a community leader, that's along with a couple of my other constituents and the guys who we've been collaborating with, trying to make a change. I thought that since we really didn't have them leaders on the platforms to come into the community to do the footwork that me and my other brothers were doing, that I'll take that next step in running for city council in November 2021. And the reason why I'm doing that is not because of the experience of having a city council, being a city council man or sitting in the seat of a city council. I've been to plenty of the meetings. I was a South Linden Area Commissioner, Safety Commissioner for South Linden. So I've been at them tables. I've sat at these lunch tables to where they made the promises. But then when stuff's happened in the community, then we get them promises put on the back burner. Well, we need that candidate or that council person, that city leader, to come out and bring back the priorities to the community. Bringing back the priorities to the community goes back to everything that I was just talking about. Togetherness, being engaged with the community. making our kids our number one accountability, first of all, because if we make them our number one accountability, then we can resolve and solve some of these things that's going on, because now we got their attention. But not only that, just like you said, on patrolling the police in the community, we have to find some type of way to come together with the police and the community and find a solution to where we could come together on one accord using the community leaders and using the police as well. Because there are some situations, just like we went back to where we're not going to be able to handle everything. We can't handle everything. When shots is fired, the old us wants to go back and shoot back. But as a mentor in the community, as somebody that you want to see monitoring the community, we don't want to resolve it like that. We want to come up to them and say, hey, man, before you do that, man, hold on, man. Take them bullets out. Empty that chamber out, man. Let me talk to you on the side. So that's what we working to where we're engaging more with the community and then making it accessible to where the property in the community, if we can get contractors, rather they're black contractors in the community, anybody that's affiliated with the community that wants to give back to the community, we take that property. If we can't give it to the homeless, then let's go ahead and knock it down and provide a resource garden to where we can educate the community, empower the community, and going back and when you engage in the community, you find out that everybody comes back on one accord. So that's what I'm running for City Council for in November 2021. We got to bring them priorities back to our community, not just in Linden, but where the problems exist, to where we see the attention is needed to actually resolve some of the issues that these city leaders really ain't doing. We could talk about it at the round table. We could talk about what needs to be done. And until you come out and be proactive behind your promises, it'll never be done.
Thank you.
So that's what I want. That's my mission. That's my goal. That's what we want to do. That's what I look forward to collaborate with more people with, to actually just come together and be in that puzzle piece and using God and using that purpose that we got it out here to do it in each community, wherever community you're associated with or affiliated with, just doing your part so we can bring back that together.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, and good luck.